really good, and is a great help to me, and I appreciate it. Miss Brother Danny being here to do the Sunday school lesson, and I'm just thankful for the Lord to help me this morning, but how He helped me get some thoughts. I actually didn't have any. I tried. I tried before I left, because I knew we'd be tied up all day yesterday and half the night. So I tried before I left, and the day before, days following up to it, and I couldn't get anything. And as we was riding over to Kentucky to the service yesterday, me and Brother Allen was talking about something, and it just hit me. I thought, well, that'd be a good thing to think on a little bit, because we was talking about living for the Lord, and I don't know, the discussion. I was telling him too about. I said that when people see the benefits of serving God, that's when it can be very effective. And I thought about that for my own personal use, because when people can see what the benefits are in my life, when they can see the different situations, how it works out, that should win the lost, or at least give them something to shoot for, instead of me just saying this or that. The Bible talks about in 1 Peter chapter 1 and verse 16, says, "Be ye holy, for I am holy." Now, I'm glad God's one said that, and it wasn't just somebody telling me that, saying, now, how would it sound if I just said to you, out of my own words, "Be ye holy, for I am holy"? That wouldn't sound too good, would it? I mean, that'd sound like, man, he's puffed up. This is God speaking it. When God speaks it, it's a whole different deal. It's a whole different deal. And be ye holy, for I am holy. And that's what the Lord expects out of us. And I got to thinking about that, some of the benefits of that. And when you think about the benefits of living a holy life, it's not nothing, it's not me pondering up in my mind, well, I'm going to do this and this is going to look good. This is going to work out good because I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. It's because when it's effective, I want to be this way to be pleasing to God. I want to be holy because God said He is holy and He wants me to be holy, and I should obey that. I should go for that. I should just take it. So, and it would be nice if it just clicked that way, wouldn't it? But it don't click that way for everybody. It don't click that way. And we all have our struggles with different things from time to time as we grow in the things of God. We have our struggles. It's not just an instant flip a switch and everything's perfect in our life. There's things we work on and grow in. There's things that we recognize as we go along. And the thing about it is, when we recognize it, we need to fix it. If it's something that God would want, we need to fix it. It's really a simple matter of just being obedient to God. And the benefits will show. I had something pulled up on my phone. If I can get it back, I don't know. I probably scrolled it off, but I needed to save it. Who knows with me and this button pushing. But, I'll Google stuff once in a while, well, a lot when I'm trying to study, when I get something, because you can get a lot of good thoughts. You get a lot of good thoughts from things. And I just punched in and Googled it, benefits of holiness. And, you got to watch what you find. You got to watch what you pull up. But I thought these were, I don't know where it come from. Didn't even look to try to figure out the source of it or whatever. I just figured God was helping me with it here. But it said that to list 5 benefits of holiness, and there's many, many more than that. Many more when we get to thinking about it, the benefits of living a holy life and being what we need to be for the Lord. One of them, it said, holiness fosters intimacy with God and builds spiritual strength and stability. And it referenced Psalms 15 and verse 1 through 6. So we'll look at that, Lord willing. Psalms 15, or 1 through 5. Yeah, they ain't but 5. So it says, Lord, who shall abide in thy tabernacle? Who shall dwell in thy holy hill? He that walketh uprightly and worketh righteousness and speaketh the truth in his heart. You notice something about that? Speaketh the truth in his heart. It ain't always because I'm talking with my mouth. It ain't always because I'm saying this or that. I'm saying that, but in my heart, in my being, in my serving God, in my salvation, speaketh truth in his heart. That's one of the biggest battles we have, and we've heard it many, many times, that we battle self. And that's the instrument that really, really gets in our way 99.9% of the time, I guess. But it said, and speaketh the truth in his heart. Being honest before God, and really taking the time. I'm with me all the time. I never get away from me. I'm right here with me all the time. Ever since I've been born, I've been with me. When you think about that, that's kind of comical, but it's the truth. I deal with me continually. I've got me to contend with. So what's in my heart when I'm by myself? I'm going down the highway by myself, going to work by myself, all the times. I've been, what time we wasn't gone on the trip, when I was at home, I was by myself because my wife's gone, to visit family, and I'm by myself. And I tell you, that's a time when your mind comes right back to you and you start thinking on a lot of things. And it should be good things. And like I said, I contend with that, or I've got that there all the time. Each one of us has. We can say what we want to others. We can be gathered around people or whatever, but when it comes down to it, we contend with ourselves. So he that walketh uprightly and worketh righteousness and speaketh the truth in his heart. That's where I've got to deal with it right as an individual. Speaketh the truth in my heart. We can deceive ourselves in a lot of things, but do I take the time to really think and commune with God? I tell you, when you're by yourself, it's a really good time to do that. It's a really good time because you don't have any interruptions. And I miss my wife being gone. I really do. If you're married, you know how that is, and we all are here. And when your spouse is gone, you miss them. Be sad if you didn't miss them. It would be a bad deal. But even in that time, while she's gone, there's no, she wouldn't. You know how it is at home. Can you help me with this? Can you do that? Or can I help you with this or that? Something to interrupt your thoughts or whatever sometimes. But when we're right in ourselves is where we got to deal with this. Speaketh truth in his heart. He that backbiteth not with his tongue, nor doeth evil to his neighbor, nor taketh up reproach against his neighbor, in whose eyes a vile person is contented, but he honoreth them that fear the Lord. He that sweareth to his own hurt and changeth not. He that putteth not out his money to usury, nor taketh the reward against the innocent. He that doeth these things shall never be moved. You know, that should be our goal, to never be moved in the things of God. There's little in my Bible, and out to the side there, it's got a reference that says saints immovable. You know, that's what we should be, on a solid rock, and not be moved away with every wind of doctrine, you know, for the most part, we don't have to worry that much about getting swayed by some doctrine, as we call it doctrine. But what we got to be really careful with is not being swayed with less holiness. Not being swayed by saying, well, this don't matter. This don't matter. We'll get enough of these don't matters till it ain't long, till it's a lot of big don't. We were trying to say it don't matter. And in that first part of that, it talked about, in verse 2, it said, and speaketh the truth in his heart. And, you know, it's awful easy to convince ourselves of things that might be okay. You know, we just might say, well, that might be okay. It might be okay. We need to go to the side of caution, err to the side of caution, not even take a chance on it. Not take a chance, because most of the things, you know, you give up so little to gain so much. I mean, it's so little, really, in the overall picture of things. You give up so. I was thinking of, you know, was in that good service there yesterday, and the altar call was made, and you know, people there that were lost, as far as I know. I mean, that's the way it seemed. And I was thinking, and I was praying and asking God. I said, help them. They probably just have to give up so little to gain so much. That was my prayer. But, you know, and I'm still praying for them. I didn't, just because that service is over, don't mean that prayer stopped, because souls are so precious and so important. And, you know, we don't know how much time we got or whatever. But, you know, most of the time, and I was thinking of some people the other day, and they'd have to give up so little to gain so much. I mean, just, that's all they'd have to do. But I've been there. I've been in the same spot. I've been in the same spot. So I ain't forgot how that was. But just giving up so little to gain so much, and what a blessing that is. But that's kind of off the thought of the benefits. But which I guess that is a benefit. You don't have to give up too awful much to gain so much. Okay, that was the first thing. Holiness fosters intimacy with God and builds spiritual strength and stability. Another one, I said, holy living makes us useful and effective for God's purposes. In 2 Timothy, in chapter 2, you have to be patient with me. I ain't as fast to turning these pages, Brother Allen is. 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 20, which I can usually turn them pretty quick if I'm sitting there and got both hands on it. It makes a big difference, don't it? If you're trying to multitask here, it makes it a little different. But good thing is it ain't going away. It's in there. I just got to find it. That's the way it is with all the things that pertain to our life of living for the Lord. It's in the book. It's in there. So we gotta find it. Sometimes we can overlook things, can't we? It's awful easy to. It amazes me to hear messages. You know, one of the messages over there yesterday, and I don't keep bringing that up, but it's just so good. I mean, it was just so good. But that one message, I had never heard it brought out like that. You know, I've read those scriptures, and then there it is. And you think, you ain't never going to get caught up, because there's always something else to learn. That's for sure. But 2 Timothy chapter 2, starting with verse 20. But in a great house there are not only vessels of gold and of silver, but also of wood and of earth. and some to honor and some to dishonor. If a man therefore purge himself from these, he shall be a vessel unto honor, sanctified and meet for the master's use, and prepared to every good work. Flee also youthful lust, but follow righteousness, faith, charity, peace with them that call on the Lord out of a pure heart. But foolish and unlearned questions avoid, knowing they do gender strifes. Well, I tell you, that's one right there that, but foolish and unlearned questions avoid, knowing that they do gender strifes. That is one good thing to avoid. I can speak from experience, is to avoid things that's not going nowhere. And a lot of times people will come up with things and it don't even need to be said. It don't even need to be said, you know. Maybe it's about somebody, you know, about their condition or something. Sometimes people just don't need to even talk about that. You just need to pray for them and just leave it alone. But foolish and unlearned questions avoid, and it gives the reason, knowing that they do gender strifes. You know, when you get things going, sometimes conversations that don't do anything but gender strife, when prayer would do 1,000,000 times better, 1,000,000 times better. And the servant of the Lord must not strive, but be gentle unto all men, apt to teach and patient, in meekness instructing those that oppose themselves, if God peradventure will give them repentance to the acknowledging of the truth, and that they may recover themselves out of the snare of the devil, who are taken captive by him at his will. That's a pretty scary thought, ain't it? Being taken captive by the devil at his will, just whenever, just fall right into everything. But you know, the benefits, you know, these things has got to show in our life if people are going to see the benefits of living for God in our life. You know, in meekness instructing those that oppose themselves. In meekness, you know, I'd like to, you know, you see something going on, you'd just like to stop it. You know, you'd like to, don't do that. You know better. But it says in meekness. Not brushing it aside, not putting it as no concern, but in meekness instructing those that oppose themselves. But to, Lord help me to have more of a teaching spirit on what the good things of God are. You know, because we need that. Because instructing, ain't that teaching? If you're instructing somebody, you're teaching them or guiding them, giving them strength. That's what teaching does. It teaches somebody. It shows them. You know, Brother Danny teaches school, of course, and when he's instructing, he's telling somebody how this will work out to their benefit. You know, because you get the right answer. If you work a math problem, and Lord, I'm so thankful I don't have to do that. I am really thankful that I don't have to do that kind of stuff, you know, the bigger level of it, because it don't make no sense to me. But I didn't really I wasn't interested in it, to be honest with you. It just wasn't my thing to try to really get a hold of that kind of thing. Just wasn't me, you know. I'd rather been out in the woods or out the creek bank or something, you know. We're all going to die, so it's going to benefit us the same anyhow. If you don't go fishing, you're still going to die. If you don't do a math problem, you're still going to die, you know. So, but anyhow, the instructing Brother Danny would instruct them so it would work to their benefit. And that's what we need. That's the kind of the thoughts that I had, was showing the benefits. And, you know, if Brother Danny was teaching math and he was half-heartedly doing it, I can't see him not being really serious when it comes to helping somebody to understand. You know, I mean, that's just Brother Danny. He would help you to understand that math problem. And I guess if I'd have had I ain't saying I didn't have teachers like that. I probably didn't let them instruct me like I needed to be. But if I'd have had somebody that just really explained to me, and it would have done me good. I'm sure there's a lot of things, absolutely a lot of things it would have helped me with if I'd have paid attention. Let's just take, a carpentry class. Let's get on something. If I had paid more attention to that, I'd have known a whole lot more things. But, if your instructor is telling you, now this is going to benefit you, I'm going to show you how to lay out this floor here so you can pour concrete, or pour a concrete patio or something. And I'm going to show you how the benefits of putting some metal in there. I'm going to show you the benefits of getting it level, instead of just saying, that's what you got to do, just do it. It's just what you do, but showing the benefit. Why do I need that metal in there? That'll help it not crack, make it solid. Lots of benefits from it. You can drive your levelers in there, to when you pour your concrete, you know where it's at, and just all kinds of different benefits from it. If somebody's instructing you how to do that, and it's for your benefit, and it benefits the outcome of it, and there's a benefit of serving God, right on through the countless ages of time. Just think of these people that some of the brethren and sisters that served God before us, that's done and went on, the benefits. Take an Evening Light book. How much benefits that? How much benefits that? And that's, years ago, in the 1800s, I guess. And some of the songs probably a lot older than that. I don't know. I don't know how old they are. Don't know all about the history of it, but I know people are done and gone, but it's still a benefit, But the benefits of serving God can not only reach in the present time where we're living, but our people that's coming on after us. If time should last and generations to come, they can look and say, well, there was a great benefit in them serving God. There's a reason they serve God. There's a reason, because look what a person it made them. They wasn't all bitter and hateful and backbiting and stabbing and drama all the time. They lived a peaceful life. They lived a peaceful life, a life where they praise God and give God honor and glory in all things. And but if we can show people the benefits of that in our life, and you don't, we know you don't gather a bunch together and say, watch my life. This is the benefits. They just actually see it in your workplace. That's probably where most of us spends most of our time, seems like. In a workplace, they can see the benefits that, well, there's something different about them. That went all wrong. They've had things that went wrong for them all day long, and they're still whistling and singing the praises of God. They're still joyous. They're not all mad and throwing their tools across the floor. They're not upset. They put more on them. They put more on them than they should have, but they're still happy. They're still happy. Well, well, so-and-so, they got all these extra benefits, and that person's doing all the work, and they're still happy. What's up with that? That's the benefit. And then they can see that there's something different, because anybody can get mad at anything at any time, and that's the devil puts that in our against us box. He'll hold that against us. I used to have, before I was saved, my temper was not something that was good. It was bad. When I got aggravated, now I could get uptight, and that ain't nothing to brag. Now, that's a sad situation, because you can get yourself in a lot of trouble by getting mad. You can say things, you can do things that you can't back up on and you can't recover from. You know, you might say, well, I can apologize. You can't make somebody forget it. If you do it, you can't make them forget it. Hopefully it'll, you know, time will take care of it, but not really, because people will say, I mean, these things, which it ain't happened lately, but for years after I was saved, I'd run into people and they'd say, you know, and they didn't really realize, I guess, I saved, but they'd say, do you remember that time? You know, and it was something that wasn't no good. You remember that time you done this, or we done this, or whatever? And it ain't good. You know, it was embarrassing, but at least I could say I wouldn't do that now because I'm saved. I hate I done that. I said it was funny at the time, but it ain't funny no more because I should not have done that. You know, and I'm not talking about something major. It's just stuff that wasn't no good. The stuff that wasn't no good. But the benefits, they can see that there's a difference, and they can see that there's a change in our lives. Let me see if I can get this read here, because I get started. It takes me a long time to get anything. Don't stick to the script sometimes, I guess. Well, I don't guess. I know I don't stick to it most of the time. A third benefit, it says our holy life causes people around us to glorify God. 1 Peter in chapter 2. First Peter chapter 2 and verse 9. Okay, it says, but ye are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a peculiar people, that ye should show forth the praises of him who hath called you out of darkness into his marvelous light. When it talks about a peculiar people, don't think about that. Just back on what I was saying there a while ago about, you know, if you're on a job and things are not going the way that it really should, but you're not all uptight and tore up, that's peculiar for somebody to say, oh, okay, let's just go with it, you know, and keep that steady tone and that praises of God. That makes it different, because everybody, you know, anybody can get mad about a situation, but it takes a peculiar person not to get mad and not to get uptight, not get all stressed out and tore up. And, you know, we got to fight these things every day. There's some aggravating things on a job. You know, I was telling somebody the other day, I said, if you worked in a library, you'd probably complain. Me and somebody at work was talking about it. I said, nobody even around you'd say, well, they won't put them books back, or they didn't bring that book back on time. If you ever notice it, there's not many jobs that somebody don't complain about something. Maybe it's a coworker or whatever, but a peculiar person or something, it's different if people are different from that and use a different attitude. And, you know, I gotta watch that. I gotta be careful with that. I've not got that whipped. I've not got that settled right there. I have to work on that every day. I have to work on that. And sometimes you catch yourself, it ain't that bad, you know. It ain't that bad. Somebody was talking about something at work about it being something going on. I can't remember. And I said, they're going to pay me. I guess I'll just go ahead and do it. You know, some of it's a little aggravating, and it probably shouldn't be. Well, a lot of it in my mind, a lot of my job, it should never happen. We should never have to deal with the issues that we do, but we do. And that's what they pay us to do. So that's our job. Ain't no use to complain about it. No, I mean, it's okay to bring things up in the right manner to get it corrected, not just let it go and keep carrying on and on and on and on and on and on, but in a good way. Do it in a good way. You know, don't go in all mad. I could go in all mad and say, why do you do this every time? And they do. I mean, there's a lot of repeat offenders on a lot of stuff. And it makes you think, why did you do that every time? I mean, you can't help but think that. But if I went in fussing and raising Cain, you know, just madder than a bull, stomping, how would that look? It'd look a whole lot better if you say, are there any way you can take care of this so we don't? They're writing this up on the list every time. Every time it's happening. And there's got to be a fix. Or maybe even say, can you just do it this way and it'll be a done deal. You won't have to, it won't be wrote up every time. Just do it right. Just fix it right, you know, in a good manner, you know. And our wording has a lot to do with that, a lot to do with the results that we get. That's for sure, because as the Bible talks about offending somebody, you know, it's harder to gain than a walled city or something like that. I think word for word, but, you know, you get, even on the workplace, you get somebody offended because you worded things wrong, you ain't gonna get no help. You've just put you up a great old big stumbling block. And it, you know, approach, going at it things the right way, you know, instructing people, teaching them, let them know the benefit, you know, the benefit of this being done right. You ain't gonna have to come back later. When you're in a hurry and running behind, wanting to get out of here for the day, you ain't gonna have to come back and fix it. That's a great benefit. It's gonna look better. We're gonna sell more ambulances because you got better quality. You know, just the benefits of it. Show them the benefits. Same way we're living for God. Show them the benefits. Help people to see that there is a great benefit in that. Okay, I'm going to read verse 9 again. But you are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a peculiar people, that ye should show forth the praises of him who hath called you out of darkness into his marvelous light, which in time past you were not a people, but are now the people of God, which hath not obtained mercy, but now have obtained mercy. The people of God, I tell you what, God has showed mercy on us. We're saved this morning. God has shown mercy. And what does he expect us to do? Show mercy. Show mercy. Not let down, not fall away from the things of God, not fall away from living a holy life, but present it in a way, the benefits of how, you know, and testimonies are a really good thing to help people see the benefits, because you're not directly talking to somebody about their condition. You're telling them about your condition and the benefit that God gave you from it, and they can say, that helped them. I'm battling that, and look what a benefit. Look how it's helped them. Look how they're growing in the things of God. You know, seeing growth helps everybody. If you can see growth in somebody, or if you're growing yourself and you can give a testimony how God helped you with this and you've overcome this or that, you know, just like I was talking about that defect on an ambulance, you know, on the workmanship or whatever, and you're telling somebody about it and telling them about the benefit of it. When they can see, when they can actually see and know that it's saving them some problems by doing it, getting that situated and fixed right, they'll want to do it. And that's the way it is if somebody sees the benefit in my life of how, it can go back all the way to salvation. And as we grow, these benefits of learning things and getting in there and doing more things for God or whatever. But even starting out, the benefits of just being saved, of salvation, because that's where it all starts, is being saved and living for God. People can see the benefit. They can see a difference. I had I never was into a lot of stuff. I was lost as lost could be, but because either you're lost or you ain't. So lost as could be, there's not a level. There's not a level. Well, he's loster than I am. Nope. Loster ain't even word, is it? You know, you're lost. But so you're as lost as you can be, because that's the way it is. But But I had somebody after I got saved, and I mean, like I said, I wasn't into a lot of stuff. I wasn't into a lot of stuff. I was married, and wasn't into nothing major, but I still lost. And a guy told, Brother Hart used to deliver some of the ambulances and do some stuff back in the day after he retired from where he worked. And there's another guy, he done it a lot. Well, Brother Hart would go with him once in a while, and he told Brother Hart, he said, "Boy, I can see a big difference in him." And I didn't know it. I didn't know there was that bigger difference. I mean, far as, because I wasn't talking dirty. I wasn't doing stuff. I wasn't doing stuff. But he said, I can see a big difference in him. So even though we don't realize it, there is a change takes place, a major change. And that just kind of amazed me because, it's weird how the devil works because he's got all kinds of tricks. But, I'd hear people had been testifying about how they'd saved them from drugs and drinking and doing all these things. We heard testimonies yesterday. What a miraculous things that God has done and delivered people from. I mean, even yesterday, we heard those testimonies, and I thought to myself, well, I've not got, I can't testify that, he delivered me from all that because I wasn't doing it. But, it's just the way the enemy works. And I just started out, just had got saved, and I was thinking, man, I can't testify about all these things. But when he said that, I could see a big difference in him. It just rung a bell. And I mean, it's pretty simple. That ain't no great thinking or whatever. It's just the way the enemy fought. But, it don't matter if you're in the depths of sin or just not saved. It don't matter. You're still lost. You're still lost. But that helped me to think, well, yeah, I have got a testimony. I had to be saved, even though I wasn't doing these things. That's a testimony too. A lot of people think, well, just because they're doing these bad things, they need, when they do, they say I need to get saved. But a lot of times, a person that's just not doing a whole lot of bad can get in their mind, well, I'm okay because I'm not doing these bad things. But no, you still got to be saved. You still got to be saved, and there's great benefits from that. But, when that guy told him that, and that ain't no pat on my back, that's what God does. That's how he changes. But, after I got to thinking about it, I knew what he was talking about because when he got to studying about it, I'm not interested in that no more. I'm not interested in this. So it does make a big difference. A lot of the things that went on, wasn't no really, really bad things. It's bad enough, but it just wasn't, it wasn't a lot of harm in it, I guess, as far as physical harm or anything like that, but it needed to be corrected. To be saved, correct it, fix it, move on. And some of it was the little things. Some of it was things that before I was saved, I thought, why, really, I don't see no harm in that. I don't see that'd hurt anything anyhow. I'd see people living, but then I got to seeing some of the benefits they had from it. And God helped me with that a lot. And just measure up to it. Go on about your business. Live for God. God is certainly good. The fourth benefit, holiness builds peace with God. 2 Peter 3 and verse 10. For he that will love life and see good days, let him refrain his tongue from evil and his lips that they speak no guile. Let him eschew evil and do good. Let him seek peace and ensue it. Or follow after it, or overtake it, or whatever. Get a hold of it. For the eyes of the Lord are over the righteous, and his ears are open unto their prayers. but the face of the Lord is against them that do evil. But to follow after him and to have to seek after these things, it says to seek after them, and what will happen? Well, it's also just the same. If you don't seek after it, there's an opposite to it. There's a alternative. It's the different. If a lot of times the Bible will say, if you do this, this will happen. Well, it's also, if you don't do this, so there's a result. There's consequences of all these things. But holiness builds peace with God. And the fifth one was a holy life pleases God and produces fruit. Ephesians 5. And starting in verse 1. And it's got, it's all the way through, it's 1 through 17, so we'll try to read through that kind of quickly here. It says, be ye therefore followers of God as dear children, and walk in love as Christ also hath loved us, and hath given himself for us an offering and a sacrifice to God for a sweet smelling savor. But fornication and all uncleanliness or covetousness, let not it be once named among you, as becometh saints. Neither filthiness, nor foolish talking, nor jesting, which are not convenient, but rather giving of thanks. For this you know that no whoremonger, nor unclean person, nor covetous man who is an idolater hath any inheritance in the kingdom of Christ and of God. Let no man deceive you with vain words, for because of these things cometh the wrath of God upon the children of disobedience. Take just a second there, and in that first part it said, let no man deceive you with vain words. We need to recognize vain words. If it leads away from living for God, if it lives away from having a pure life, you hear a lot of people when they're talking about you hear them talking about, well, we do this and we do that, but we don't, we shouldn't, but we do. We do this, but we shouldn't, but we do this and we do that. That's kind of vain words, ain't it? If you ain't supposed to do it, don't do it. That's pretty simple. That's pretty simple, but I've heard so many people say, we do this, but we shouldn't. They might not even say, but we shouldn't. But that's what they're getting at in their, just out when you're talking to somebody. Well, I do this, but I shouldn't. That don't glorify God. That don't help nobody. That just gives an opening to say, well, if they do it, I can do it. If they do it, I don't guess you can help it. And a lot of people, that's all they get is what they hear people talk about. That's all they get as far as knowing anything about God. And they hear somebody say that's, maybe somebody that has been attending church, they say they're saved, they go to church all the time, and they're into the programs that go on or whatever, the different gatherings or whatever, they're there all the time or whatever, and then they say, well, we shouldn't, but that's just, you can't help it. We are bad to we do this or we do that, about sinful things, but we shouldn't. That is vain words. Let no man deceive you with vain words, because there's a higher power than that. There's more victory than that. Thank God for victory. We can overcome these things and not pay attention to these vain words, because there's a lot of excuses. There's a lot of pacifying goes on. Somebody used to call it a spiritual pacifier. You give a baby, or a lot of people does, a pacifier for them so they'll quieten down, so it'll satisfy them. Put that pacifier in there. You hear people say that pacifies them. There's a lot of spiritual pacifiers too. There's a lot of spiritual pacifiers that are brought out by vain words. You know, somebody might be even under conviction and struggling with something, and somebody pacify them. Here, put that pacifier in. It'll be all right. And that's all they need, is something to gnaw on, I guess. And don't get, you know, there's something about a pacifier. You give it to a youngin', they can gnaw on that thing for a week and they won't get a thing out of it. The same thing with a spiritual pacifier. You can gnaw on that thing for the rest of your life and you won't get nothing out of it. You won't get a thing out of it. You'll just get somebody pacifying. And most of the time, somebody gives you a spiritual pacifier through false religion or whatever it might be, whoever it is. They give you a spiritual pacifier. They're giving it to you, but it's really pacifying themselves because it eases their conscience. It eases their conscience. Well, you know, we just can't do no better. Well, there's a bigger and better thing, and that's victory in the Lord. But let no man deceive you with vain words, for because of these things cometh the wrath of God upon the children of disobedience. But be not ye therefore partakers with them, for ye were sometimes darkness, but now are ye light in the Lord. Walk as children of light. And I'm going to stop right there, but let's just remember to show the benefits. And, you know, and maybe somebody would ask something about, what's the benefit in this? We need to be able to give an answer. What's the benefit? What's the benefit? You know, you go to put in an application at a job, and you get in for the interview or whatever, and if they don't tell you, you ask, well, what's the benefits? You know, you got insurance? Have you got paid time off? These things are big. It's important. It's very important, the benefits. So that's what we got to show in our life. Me and Brother Allen was going over yesterday, was talking a little bit about that, and that just clicked. And like I said, I didn't have nothing for a Sunday school lesson. I just couldn't get nothing. And that clicked, and I retained that part of it. And then, man, some messages went on over there. I just had to get my notebook out because I'd write down stuff. As the message was going, there'd something trigger my mind. Didn't have nothing to do with what they were saying, but that would trigger my mind to some thoughts, you know. And I just made little notes because, boy, if I don't, they will get gone. That's amazing. I can have a thought, and it's so plain and clear, and if I don't write it down, it'll go. And it just kills me because I can't think of it again. I think, well, I needed that. But I appreciate the Lord helping me, and I hope it made sense. But the benefits, you know, once people see the benefits of it, you know, for the most part out in the world, if it's, and people don't mean no harm by it, I don't reckon, but, you know, if you see somebody that says they're living for God and you see that they ain't, I can't see no benefit. I can't see no benefit of that. But if you see somebody that says they're living for God and you see they're really living it, there's a benefit. So in all these things, I mean, we'd have to study it out and really think on it. I guess you could think on that a whole lot and think of the benefits. And we need to think on that so we're able to tell people. You know, I need to think on it more. Well, what is the benefit? There's lots of benefits. You know, it's not just making heaven their home. There's stuff to do right now. There's stuff to do right now. There's souls to be won now. And there's a life to live. It's the best life. It is the best life to live for the Lord. You know, it makes no difference. And like I said, I have got to do it myself. You know, I can come, I can be in every service, every time the doors is open, and participate in all the things that go on. And it not do me a bit of good if I'm not inside, in my heart, doing and living a life that's pleasing to God. So I better stop. So we'll take a little bit of a break and move on with the service shortly.